It was supposed to be the drink that rewrote the rules, the bottle that turned hype into billions. But in just a few short years, Prime went from a cultural obsession to a courtroom punchline. Logan Paul and KSI promised a sports drink empire, yet today their dream brand is clinging to survival. The question now isn't how high Prime can climb, it's whether it can survive at all. The Meteoric Rise. When Prime first hit the shelves, it didn't look like a drink. It looked like a movement. You couldn't walk into a gym, a school hallway, or a UFC arena without seeing those brightly colored bottles flashing in the background. Prime wasn't marketed as hydration. It was sold as a status symbol. Logan Paul and KSI turned their massive internet followings into a launchpad. Limited drops sold out instantly. Fans fought over flavors like they were collectibles, and influencers like Mr. Beast, Israel Adesanya, and even entire sports teams pushed it straight into mainstream culture. By 2023, Prime was everywhere. Kids were trading empty bottles like trophies. Parents were lining up outside stores. For a moment, Prime didn't just compete with Gatorade or Powerade. It looked like it could eclipse them. Industry whispers started calling it a billion-dollar rocket ship. But hype doesn't last forever, and what goes up at that speed usually comes down even harder. The cracks appear. The first cracks weren't obvious. A few critics raised questions about ingredients. Whispers about too much caffeine or cheap additives floated around, but the hype drowned it out. Still, the momentum started to shift. When global icons like Messi and Ronaldo kept their distance, it signaled something bigger. If the world's biggest athletes wouldn't back it, maybe Prime wasn't as unstoppable as it seemed, and soon after sales started to slide. Fast. In less than 2 years, Prime's revenue collapsed by more than 90%. That's not a dip, that's a free fall. Fans who once treated bottles like gold were now walking right past them on clearance racks at Walmart. What was once a cultural storm now looked like yesterday's TikTok trend. And behind the scenes, even bigger trouble was brewing. The lawsuit storm. When a brand explodes this fast, the backlash doesn't just come from consumers, it comes from courts. And for Prime, the lawsuits started piling up like dominoes. The first major hit came from Refresco, a manufacturing partner suing Prime for $67 million. The claim? That Prime broke a locked-in supply deal when sales started sinking. For a brand bleeding cash, this was a nightmare. Next came a supplier dispute with Agana, who accused Prime of dodging $13 million in unpaid bills. Prime fired back, saying the raw materials weren't up to standard. But for investors, it didn't matter who was right. It was a red flag that the company's insides were chaotic. Then came something scarier. A lawsuit alleging that Prime's grape flavor contained PFSA, a chemical the EPA considers hazardous. Health lawsuits aren't just expensive, they're brand killers. Even the whisper of unsafe ingredients can nuke consumer trust overnight. And if that wasn't enough, the United States Olympic Committee came after Prime for slapping Olympic branding on a limited edition bottle without permission. A cease and desist wasn't enough. They ended up settling out of court. Each new lawsuit chipped away at Prime's reputation. One case after another painted a picture of a brand in panic mode, and the world was watching. Section 4. The product problem. Here's the brutal truth. Prime was never about the drink. It was about the faces on the bottle. Unlike Gatorade or Body Armor, which built reputations on performance and science, Prime's formula wasn't revolutionary. Critics called it glorified flavored water, sweetened with sucralose, spiked with electrolytes, and branded like candy. The real controversy came with caffeine. Prime's energy version was advertised at 200 milligrams per can, but independent lab tests suggested it was higher, closer to 225 milligrams. And the packaging? Nearly identical to the caffeine-free hydration bottles. Parents accused Prime of blurring the lines so kids might grab the wrong one. Doctors started speaking out, warning that this wasn't a product they'd recommend to children or teens. For a brand riding a wave of young fans, that kind of criticism cuts deep. And once the hype faded, people noticed the obvious. The taste wasn't anything special. Fans tried it once, posted about it online, and then quietly went back to Gatorade or Powerade. Without influencer noise, Prime's must-have appeal vanished. Section 5. The marketing arrogance. Instead of fixing the problems, Logan Paul doubled down on hype. His dream of billionaire status wasn't a secret. He talked about it constantly. To get there, he needed Prime to sell for at least $5 billion, and he pushed harder than ever to make it happen. But when ambition turns into desperation, the cracks show. Logan used everything from fight promotions to his wife's pregnancy announcement as backdrops to plug Prime. Instead of repairing lawsuits or tweaking formulas, the strategy became stay loud, stay viral, stay everywhere. The brand's tone grew cocky. Logan and even allies like Mr. Beast started taking public shots at rivals like Gatorade and Liquid IV. But in business, arrogance doesn't age well. Healthy competition is one thing. Trash talk while your numbers collapse is another. To investors, this wasn't confidence, it was insecurity. A billion-dollar brand doesn't have to scream. It lets results speak. Section 6. The numbers don't lie. In the UK, Prime's sales tanked 70%. Revenue dropped from £112 million to just £32 million. Net profit collapsed to barely £310,000, a rounding error for a supposed empire. In the US, sales fell more than 50% in 6 months. Globally, Prime's revenue cratered by 92%. That's not a setback, that's a brand implosion. For Logan Paul, who reportedly owned 20% of Prime, this meant his billionaire dream vanished overnight. To hit that target, Prime would have needed a $5 billion buyout. Today, no serious company would pay even a fraction of that. The contrast is brutal when you compare it to body armor. Coca-Cola first bought a small stake, watched years of steady growth, and only acquired it fully once it was proven. Prime skipped the prove-it phase. It sprinted into the spotlight, but without a backbone, it burned out. Section 7. The bigger lesson. Prime's downfall is bigger than one brand. It's a case study in influencer capitalism. The hype machine can build something massive overnight, but if the foundation is weak, it can't survive once the spotlight fades. Logan Paul and KSI created fireworks. Loud, colorful, and impossible to miss. But fireworks don't last. Real businesses take time. They build trust, repeat customers, and credibility. Prime showed what happens when celebrity clout becomes the product. It works until it doesn't, and when it doesn't, the fall is brutal. Conclusion. Cliffhanger. So here we are. Prime went from billion-dollar rocket to bargain bin clearance in record time. Lawsuits are mounting, sales are collapsing, and Logan's billionaire fantasy looks like a fading dream. But the question remains, is this the final chapter, or could Prime stage an unlikely comeback? Stranger things have happened in business. Sometimes brands rise from the ashes. What do you think? Can Logan and KSI save Prime, or is this brand finished for good? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear where you stand. And before you go, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown of celebrity business drama. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss what's coming next.